Hey everyone, Anne-Marie Cross here, your personal brand success catalyst. The topic that I chose to speak to you about today is one that's often difficult to speak about, particularly if either you or someone close to you has recently gone through this experience. And what I'm talking about today is job loss. We only need to listen to the radio and turn on our TVs to hear that many organisations, due to the financial crisis being experienced global-wide, are laying off staff. And if you've experienced it, or if you know anyone who've experienced it, over the next 3 sessions and in our newsletter, I want to share with you some tips and strategies that hopefully you'll find helpful in getting your career back on track. I've actually experienced myself with a family member having gone through job loss, and I know the difficulties that can be experienced around that. One of the things as a career coach that we say to our clients is that the one job for life principle really doesn't apply anymore, and that they need to expect at least 3 to 4, even sometimes 7 to 9 different career changes through your life. So it's really important to have a career management plan in place to support you in going through those highs and lows, so that if you do find yourself being downsized, or the organisation or the industry that you're in, that you are prepared. And of course, it's probably not going to be helpful to you to know this now if you have found yourself out of a job. One of the things that I wanted to share with you this morning is some principles that a psychologist by the name of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she was a psychiatrist, she identified the grief and loss process, and this can also be quite relevant for people who have experienced job loss, particularly when you've got family members or those people around you, your colleagues, saying to you, what's wrong with you, go out and get another job. If you're finding it very difficult, these 5 different stages you may be able to relate to. I'll go very briefly through them today. Firstly, you may find yourself going through a denial process, and this is where you feel quite isolated. Some of the thoughts that might be going through your mind is, well, they're going to call me back, they're going to realise that they can't do without me, I know I'm going to get my job back. And so that's what we call the denial stage. Another stage that you may or may not be experiencing is anger, particularly if you've been with an organisation for some time and you've contributed lots of wonderful things. To find yourself suddenly without a job, it can be really disheartening, and you may feel that you've got some not so positive thoughts against your boss. You may be thinking, well, they owe me, I'll show them, all those sorts of feelings. And whilst it can be experienced by everyone, you've got to realise that it is important to address and move on, because that ultimately is going to really impact on the way in which you approach your future and look forward to taking the steps to transition into another role. Another step which can also be experienced by people going through the job loss process and anger and frustration is depression and low self-esteem. You've got to realise that in situations of job loss, it doesn't necessarily mean that you weren't good in your role. It doesn't necessarily reflect on how you worked within the organisation. It may be because of the fact that the whole industry was experiencing a downturn. So try and avoid personalising it and blaming yourself for that. It's often nothing to do with you at all, but rather external factors that cause the organisation to make that decision. So again, just check in to see whether it really is impacting your self-esteem to the point where it's very difficult for you to move forward. Another stage which can also be experienced by people who have gone through job loss is a struggle phase. And this is where they tend to, or where you may tend to think, well, I've got to really face up to what's happened. Going through and doing some research on in the marketplace, you may realise that the type of role that you are in may not necessarily be available, or a lot of jobs may not be out there because of the industry going through quite a turmoil, particularly relevant, I guess, in today when we look at the financial industry and the industries that tied into the financial industry. All of them are going through quite an upheaval, and a lot of people, unfortunately, are losing their jobs. So you definitely need to maintain a positive outlook and realise that, look, there are opportunities out there. It's a matter of doing the research, positioning yourself in the best possible way, having a great marketing document, your resume, being able to follow that up with powerful interview techniques to support you in getting back into the workplace. We're going to cover some of those more practical steps in the next couple of shows that we'll be presenting. We're just sort of going through the grief and loss stage in this particular instance. And the next stage is the positive stage. This is where you've accepted. It's the new hope phase. This is where you are able to look back at your experience and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can this event teach me? How can I expand? How can I take some of the positive aspects of this, even though it may not look so positive at the moment, but being able to revisit that and then taking that, being able to grow, adapt, and then step forward with enhanced self-esteem and knowing with confidence that you really do have beneficial or qualities, strengths, achievements to offer a potential new employer. So those are the 5 stages. They're not linear, so you don't necessarily go from stage 1 to stage 5. You may find that you go through a number of stages and go back to the stage 1. What is really important, and what I do encourage you to do, if you really do feel that you are struggling and that you need to speak to someone, go and talk to someone who is maybe not so closely involved in the situation, like your close family members, or your spouse. They are so tied up because obviously there's going to be a financial impact that you may feel that you're not able to speak with them. So going a close colleague, someone who's not specifically tied in to the situation, someone who you're able to talk to, share your feelings with, whatever, or perhaps even go and see a professional. Our contact details, if you'd like to reach out and talk to us, more than happy to spend some time with you. Our email address is success@career-coach.com.au. So again, I do hope that you found some of those tips of benefit, and look forward to sharing some of the practical steps with you next time, so that you can really find and feel that you're getting the support that you need to transition yourself back into the new opportunities that are out there waiting for you. So have a great day, everyone, and we'll catch up with you next time. Bye bye.